Hey guys, another pineapple Nazi soda. Uh, World's worst social justice warrior here, agent of doubt, and I might be the only person who understands the whole Nazi reference to Fanta soda. So I better tell some of my audience. So Coca-Cola uh, had some factories in Germany, and they were caught on both sides of the battle lines. And so their company in Germany decided to make a lot of soda out of things that they could get because, the supply of some of the ingredients for Coca Cola couldn't make it to Germany. So they decided to start bottling different flavors, and one of them was orange Fanta. And so uh, Fanta, the product name is actually traceable back to Nazi Germany, and Coca-Cola trying to make profits on both sides of the battle line. So that's why it's Nazi soda. It's not like Fanta in our age has done anything uh, bad to us, but it's kind of like how IBM made computers that counted people who were headed towards the gas chamber, and the Germans couldn't have maintained the efficiency that they had in burning up Jews without IBM. You know, IBM also made the first computer that I ever had in my family as a kid, which was the 8088, and I had a lot of fun on that computer. But, you know, a couple generations earlier, helped out the Nazis. Sorry if I'm spoiling anything for you guys. Um, Still no one in the live chat, so I'm going to put a bit of filler in the beginning of my video because I can. Um, this is a pretty weird story. So I ordered something on eBay and it arrived. Okay. And I got home and Misty said, "There's a package for you, but it, it's like you sent the package to yourself because in the address boxes it has your name in the to and your name in the from and your address. So it's like you sent it to yourself." And I was like, "I didn't send any packages to myself." She's like, "You better open that outside in case it's a bomb." And I was like, hmm, well, if it's a bomb, it's addressed to me, right? So I better not, spread the wealth around with the explosion. So I took it out to the front yard, took a knife to it, and opened it in a way that, if it was a bomb, I'd still be dead. But it wasn't a bomb. It was actually something I ordered on eBay, and it was wonderful. So you guys might remember that I was looking for this for my MindLink uh, purchase that I had before. This was something that was missing from this box here, and I was going to send this back to the person that I bought it from for a really, really good price because this retails for around $200, right? And this is something that you can put on your head, and it can control things like video games by reading your alpha and data waves off of your brain. So you can like just change your brain waves just by thinking, and you can move things around on a screen. Simple games, right? But it didn't have the damn charging cable, right? And this thing on the end here, this is the proprietary cable that they have for charging this thing, right? It looks a little like HDMI cable, but it is wired differently on the inside, and it has those two things on the outside. It's a really uh, rare cable. I could not find this anywhere. I could see it on videos of other people who had this product, but then after seeing this, I was like, okay, USB charging cables, and I just went through like picture upon picture of cables, and I could not find this. I took this to Micro Center, and the repair geeks there had no clue as to what was actually this cable, except for it's like a modified HDMI cable. So I got this by purchasing this, which is a spider, an electronic spider that you can control with the MindLink. And it also came with another MindLink. So I have two MindLinks now, and I will be charging them up and playing some video games, and I will give you guys a review of basically video games controlled via EEG in a couple weeks after I've mastered them, and I can show you something impressive rather than just me going like I'm constipated, you know. So that was what the bomb threat in my house today was. The guy who shipped me the spider decided to uh, he decided to put my address in the return address as well as the send to address. Um, so hi, Godless Manitoban. You're not the only one here because now Morton00 says, hi, how are you? And then he thinks it's pre recorded because I didn't immediately break into responding and stop telling my story. Um, Newsflash, sometimes the story is more important than immediately responding. But Popcorn Power says, "Don't lie. We all know the bomb threat was a very stinky fart." Not actually. I've been eating a lot of fiber and things have been passing through me. But uh, if I get constipated, those are the worst stinky farts. Let's see. Maybe he didn't want to reveal his own address. That's actually a neat idea. Yeah, maybe he didn't want to reveal his own address. Um, or maybe he didn't want the package to get returned to him uh, if they couldn't find my address, and so he wanted if it didn't make it there to then return it to there. You know, because who trusts the post office these days? Let's see. Morton is glad that I'm really live. Yeah, if you set someone to times 2 speed, if you come in late, like 5 minutes late, you can catch up to the live speed and then it'll set itself to just regular speed. Morton wants to see my eye trick. Are you talking about like uh, making one eye move without the other? Have you watched that far back in my videos that you can see that eye trick? Because that video was like a long time ago, like before I had a gray stripe in my beard. Long time ago. Whoa. Well, thanks for watching. I don't know when it was that you watched that, because videos that I made 10 years ago, you can play them like they were made yesterday, but that was years ago, man. Years ago. Anyway, uh, I haven't tried that trick in years either. So here goes. Did it work? God, it's been It's like, oh god, it popped out. Call 911. Um, Aries 106 wants to know if I'm going to do any more court reports for Shani and Rev. Um, I don't plan on going to the hearings because I know that it's just basically follow up shit. And there's like, I know the story. You know, I went and talked to them that one time. I saw part of the hearing, and then I saw the lawyer talking to them, and got a lot of verification for the rest of the story that they told me from just what I saw, to the point where, you know, I know what's going on, and it's not an exciting story at all at this point. At this point, it's just like follow up shit, and really, I'm just glad that when things could be of a criminal justice nature, that they get turned into more of a uh, let's give someone some mental health nature, because that's just my therapeutic approach to things. Um, Wish I could say more about that, but uh, got some confidentiality issues with wanting to say more. But basically, if I were given the chance to make sure that somebody, instead of getting more time tacked onto their probation or parole, and instead they just got a little bit more therapy, I would choose the therapy most every time, because punishment is not really an effective tool. You Um, Hi, Dan. Uh, Morty Morton00 wants me to do it one more time, as if I'm faking it or something. Here we go. Can I do it longer? I suppose I could probably do it like forever, like indefinitely. Um, yeah. It doesn't really hurt either, you know. Um, I think in the video from years ago, I explained how I originally got this weird trick of this muscle power to be able to independently move an eye. And it was basically a really long car trip where I was staring at my finger, and then staring at the finger over there, and staring at my finger. And then I figured out what the sensation for moving that muscle was. And, you can train yourself to do it. So I got one more package today that I'm going to show you guys what I got. It's kind of dorky. Like, Misty saw it and she was like, "Oh, great!" You know, Misty has some dolls that she collects, like Spawn, and like some Todd McFarlane like dolls that were made for the horror movies that came out when we were kids. So she collects those things and has a collection of those. But I decided to buy this one collector's item, and it wasn't expensive, but to me, for a guy who's like an addiction counselor like me, it was kind of fucking hilarious. So I had to have it. So you guys ready? Here we go. It's it's a Hot Wheels police Humvee, right? But right here on the side of the Humvee, it actually, let's see, it's hard for me to get to where you guys can read it. Anyways, it says anti-drug unit right here on the bottom, anti-drug unit, and I was like, I gotta have it. This is going up in my office. I'm gonna pin it to the wall. The anti-drug unit police Hummer, and this is going in the same office where I do DUI therapy. It's gonna be something that we can all talk about. Anyways, on to my uh, thoughts on the Democratic debate. I was watching it while I was putting my notes in at work, and I actually made some notes on the side, and I printed them out so I would have something to say to you guys tonight for a whole hour, like I did last night for an hour. Okay, so the first thing I want to say, they put the debate behind a paywall, right? And I don't know that it had anything to do with Bloomberg, uh, beforehand, like them thinking, oh, he's not going to perform that well, so we better change how we distribute this debate versus any other debate and make it so that it's less accessible, so less people watch it because we know he's about to get attacked by these other candidates, which was true. But no, I don't think it was anything like that. I think someone just made a decision that, like, hey, if Bloomberg joins the debate, it's probably going to get, bloody on stage. So let's try to, use this like a pay per view and get people to switch over to using one of our services. So, um, if you go to the debate live stream, right, it's on NBC's YouTube channel. Go to the live stream and you'll see like the pre-debate coverage that they would have put on TV, right? And then go to the part where the debate should be, and it is like a paused screen that is just saying, go download the NBC app in order to watch the debate, right? And that's like people uploading, 2 hour long uh, videos to YouTube with the name of a real movie that people might want to, download or pirate, and they don't know how to pirate stuff, so they look it up on YouTube. And then when you get there, the video doesn't have the actual movie, even though part of the movie is in the thumbnail. The video actually has basically a message that says, hey, you want to watch this video? Click the link in the description box to be taken to a different website where we'll give you access to that video, right? NBC did the same exact thing. And when I was there, their video had like 1,000 up thumbs and 16,000 down thumbs. And you guys can find the video yourselves. It's the Democratic Debate 2020 live stream, you know. And I could not find any videos of the full debate on YouTube. I actually had to use the NBC app, and I was at work and I had my tablet there as well. And so I brought up the the NBC app and I went to the debate. And when I put in the word debate, previous debates came up, and those were free. But I don't have a pay account with NBC, right? So if you scroll down to the actual debate that I wanted to watch that was just like less than 24 hours old, it had this little key symbol, which means it's locked. And you have to get special access to it. How do you get that access? Well, you either pay NBC for a monthly fee, or you have a cable or satellite bill that you can connect to NBC's app, and then you'll get access to it. Or you do like what I did, and you get a couple of credits for creating like a weird data account. And all I did was connect my Facebook. And so I use that app so rarely that I don't think that it'll matter that I only had one credit, and I used this one credit to watch the debates while I was doing my notes so that I could talk to you guys. Uh, by agent or by Morton00. Um, oh, Popcorn Power says he's found the full debate online for free. So what I was doing was I was following how they were funneling people into using their their app. Morty wants one last eye trick before he goes. There you go. Go to sleep, Morty. Um, so they were using a tactic that pirateers on YouTube who uh, they fake like they have the real video up use. And so there's this video that is 2.5 hours long, and an hour and a half of it at the end is just the same graphic telling you, oh, you want to watch the debate? You need to download the NBC Universal app. The first hour of it, which I got sucked into a little bit of it, but I skipped ahead, is just pre debate speculation and their hosts just, being talking heads. Uh, yeah, Popcorn Power, it probably got caught in the filter for links. But if you found the full debate on YouTube, uh, go ahead and go forward in the video to the point where the debate would be and see if it doesn't have that blank screen from the live stream. Um, anyways, uh, when I saw that, I was like, well, let me see how they're trying to get people to pay for it. And here's the thing: it has to do with our government, right? These are presidential candidates, and the debate where the fate of our nation is at stake. That debate is now monetized to the point where uh, a television company can copyright it, and then if anyone throws up too long of a segment of it and then doesn't put enough commentary on it, they'll get a copyright claim put on them, right? Other debates, like the ones hosted by, say, PBS or so, uh, you you use a clip from them, and you're not going to get a copyright claim. But basically, the intensely entertaining and bloody fight that all the other candidates had with Michael Bloomberg is now hidden behind a paywall to the point where people who value their channel are not going to be commenting on that and using clips. Popcorn Power says Google NBC Democratic debate, NBC Las Vegas. Here I go. NBC Democratic debate, NBC Las Vegas. I've already watched it. Okay. I'm about to tell you my feelings on it. But okay. There. Oh, so the third link that I see is actually the one that I'm talking about with the blue screen. But let's see. Now I clicked on the second one and it takes you right to NBC's web page. Um, oh no, it's got a little thing that says, "Please support our journalism by allowing ads," because I have ad block on. Yeah, they're gonna make their money, right? They're gonna make money off of this hugely important democratic debate that has, the fate of our country is at stake. And he says, I use the top left video image. Going to that one now, and it's the same thing. Takes you to Actually takes you to NBCnews.com. So NBC News is hosting it for free on their website, whereas the app that you would get if you were trying to use your phone to watch it doesn't have it. Oh my goodness, it is the whole thing. That's it. Popcorn Power, you found it. That's awesome. I wish I had you around about 5 hours ago. So, we're going to get to my feelings on this as soon as I get a whiter screen for the background here. Because the lighting changed on my live stream here. So, in the opening, Lester Holt, he called Bloomberg a former Republican, which he was, but he stressed that, and he called Bernie Sanders a Democratic socialist, which of course they put the accent on the word socialist. You know, that's that's what needs to be stressed is the socialist word. So Bloomberg used a phrase that Republicans use, which it's understandable because he's a former Republican. But basically, he's like, "You want to take away the health care plans that Americans love, you know?" And I was like, Americans don't love their health care plans. They like getting health care, but they don't love their insurance companies. Nobody loves their insurance company. Um, we love access to health care, and that's how we're getting it now. But nobody nobody loves the insurance company. People understand that the insurance company is a middleman that's making a profit off of all of our health care. Uh, and then Bernie talked, and then Elizabeth Warren, she went on the attack on Bloomberg early, and it was brutal, the stuff she was saying. And if you guys are hearing reports of how brutal it was like, wow. She was like, um, we're here to make sure that this person doesn't become president after calling women horse face and stuff like that. And I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about the guy next to me, you know. And I was like, "Ooh, shit, shots fired. This is gonna be brutal." And then Klobuchar said that she got a memo from Bloomberg's uh, campaign, and that the memo said that some of the candidates needed to bow out of the race to pave the way for Bloomberg. And she was like, "Well, I've been told to wait my turn so many times in my life," and she basically turned it into a feminist thing, where because she's a woman, she should step down for the man and wait her turn, and then her turn's never going to come. And it was a pretty good comeback to the memo, and pretty good attack. And so, like, immediately in the first part of the debate, Bloomberg was alone to the side, and then the other five were just brutal to him. Um, Popcorn Power says maybe insurance companies should offer sexual services. So we really do love them. Um, some might argue that they're already performing services to people without the uh, courtesy of a reach around. Um, so Buttigieg was attacking Bernie Sanders and Bloomberg in the same lines, and they were scripted, but they were pretty clever, I would say. They come off in one way as scripted, but also like, hey, that is pretty clever. So he said, uh, Bernie Sanders thinks money is the root of all evil, and Michael Bloomberg says money's the root of all power. And he also says one of these guys wants to burn down the Democratic Party, and the other one wants to buy out the Democratic Party. So burn it all down or buy it all out. You know, he was basically slapping both of them, but with the same lines. And then Bernie responded, and he was like, "Well, you've got billionaire donors too. You're talking about a billionaire over here. You've got billionaire donors." And like when he was pointing that out, I was like, "Well, at least Bloomberg is the billionaire, on the stage, rather than Buttigieg being a puppet of the billionaires, with their hands up his ass, and like animating his lips." So, I, anyways, I felt like for the next couple minutes, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders were getting good airtime for their policy points out there, you know, and that's a big win in a debate to me, because they're even if neither of them were to win, just spelling out what the platform planks of the party should be. They can change things without winning, and in the end, it is about changing things whether you win or not. Klobuchar then made a unique argument that unions have been bargaining for their health care plans uh, for decades, and they get these really good health care plans. And if Bernie Sanders's Medicare for All were to go into effect, that their health care plans that they bargained for, and really, really pushed for, would then be gone. And this is true. Here I am, pretty much a supporter of Bernie or Warren, right? And I'm going to just say, yeah, that's true. but everybody's going to have health care free at the point of service, right? And Bernie was making points that we spend twice as much as any other country, and we have millions of people that are uncovered by health insurance. So um, he also said that he would not reduce people's access to healthcare, only expand. But I think that there is a point that Klobuchar was making in that I've been a union electrician in the past, right? And so I at the time I was making around 28.50 an hour, um, working uh, hurricane recovery work after Hurricane Ike hit the ExxonMobil plant in Beaumont, Texas. And at the same time as all the union uh, crews were out there, there were non-union crews. And so I got to talk shop with some of them and say, hey, how much are they paying you versus what they're paying me? Right. And so what I learned was a non union person who was just working contract and not getting any benefits whatsoever was making about $40 an hour and then having to go buy their own health insurance without their employer because they were contract workers. And those were the two kinds of crews that we had. We had union workers that had retirement plans and 401ks and dental benefits, medical benefits, and all these other benefits. Um, and then the contract workers that were getting $40 an hour and no benefits whatsoever. None of that shit, right? No pension, no nothing. So could you, with the difference, which was about 11.50, for $11.50 an hour, could you afford to buy health insurance, a pension, a 401k, a political uh, machine that advocates for you, you know, um, a hiring hall that puts you out on other jobs without you even having to drum up work yourself, you know, all of these benefits that the union people have were actually worth way more than the difference in pay, right? So, what happens on the day that healthcare becomes free for everyone at the point of service? So, what happens is those contractors then get free healthcare, and all of the bargaining where union people took pay cuts a little bit in order to get much more health insurance, their pay isn't going to automatically bounce back up to what it would have been if health insurance wasn't an issue, right? So there's going to be this pay inequity that's going to have to be bargained about again, you know, and these fights have gone on for decades, right? And so basically, Bernie Sanders' Medicare for all is going to change the landscape of uh, where they need to fight. And they're probably going to say, well, now that everyone gets health care for free and that's not a benefit to us, we want you to pay us more money because you weren't paying us that extra money because we were getting health care benefits from you. But now that we're not, you need to make up for the total amount of pay that you were paying before that you're not really paying as much now. You know, and they'll probably have to fight again. Um, that's fine, you know. Uh, but the way that Klobuchar was framing it was they're going to lose their health care that they fought hard for. And it's like, no, no, they're just going to be given a different kind of health care that still provides care. You know, it's just, it's not something that was debated with your employer and fought over and then negotiated over. Um, Popcorn Power says Klobuchar is still visibly shaking when she speaks during the debate. That's not a good sign. I will say it was a good sign when she was responding to Mayor Pete as though he had attacked her, because it actually, like, I felt like she was about to cry, and then there's that whole, oh, he hurt her feelings, and then like you're more, your heartstrings are more pulled by her, like you feel for, oh yes, Buttigieg, the butt guy. uh Nick Bravo wants to know if he thinks, or if I think that Jacqueline Glenn would debate him on atheism. um I don't think you'd be her first choice, um, as far as a debate on the issue, but I think she would be uh, unpleasantly surprised at how prepared you would be for such a debate, because she would not uh, assume that you were as well read as you actually are with all of those books in your house. And you're probably better read than her on the topic, but she would probably be expecting you to not be able to hold your own at all, so you'd catch her off guard. So if it ever happened, but first you have to be in the same place as her, and I just don't see Nebraska as being on her top 10 of places to go for an atheist convention. Just saying. Um, Godless Manitoban wants to know if this is a private stream. Um, and I don't know which context he's addressing there. This is not a private stream, but that other thing, Popcorn Power, will Jacqueline Glenn fight me in real life? Mr. Power, you have misspelled her name in a way that just nobody misspells Jacqueline that horribly. It's, uh, so Bernie also put out there that we're the only major country that does not have universal health care. And the reason why is because of the lobbying of the health insurance companies that basically keep us in the system that we're in. And they give money to politicians who then uh, put out plans that, they're not Medicare for all. They are basically the status quo masquerading as a little bit of change, you know. And if they can't completely crush the idea of Medicare for all, they can at least put ideas out there like Medicare for America, and then like expand it to just a couple million more people, and then still be rapacious with their uh, making profits off of our medical conditions. So I felt like Bernie Sanders was making his points very well in that debate, and it's the policy points, just getting out his actual policy points, I feel is a win every time. That's one page down. I only made 3 pages of notes. We're already 45 minutes into this thing. Principles Uncertainty said Bloomberg had a night, in my opinion. A bad night? Yeah, it was a bad night. Godless Manitoban who actually lives uh, in Canada, in, you know, Manitoba, he says that the downside to universal health care is wait times. And the thing is, like, you can still get supplemental insurance under Bernie's plan, but you can't get insurance for the same thing that the Medicare for All would handle. So it's going to be a weird thing. And what's strange about Klobuchar's argument that the the negotiated healthcare plans that unions had will go away is that it used to be country clubs and unions had doctors that specifically only worked for them in a different way, where the doctor was like a resident in the country club, and you went to the country club that you were a club member of, and then you would get health care on the side. You and your family could just get a checkup right then and there when you were playing golf. Union hiring halls were the same way. There was a doctor there that would specifically work for all the union members and get paid a certain wage to just do all the health care he could possibly do, in his workday for all of the union members who went there, right? And it was a different kind of addition to healthcare. And I think that that practice would come back if uh, Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All became a thing. It's time for the dogs to go outside. So then at that point, Klobuchar, uh, she was responding to Warren saying that her healthcare plan was actually tiny enough to be put on a post-it note. And she's like, post-it notes were invented in my state, so I'm not offended. But then she said that to clarify, she was saying that we should have a public option, and that's what Obama wanted. And here's the thing: the reason why Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All says that we're not going to have a public option is because it's just prolonging the inevitable. It's just giving the insurance companies one last way to rape us on their way out the door, and without making it illegal to be covering the same things that universal health care covers, it's basically uh, letting the rich people who have less healthcare problems take their money out of the public system and just leaving the people who need the healthcare with not a lot of way to pay for it, right? That's what public option means. Public option means cripple the national healthcare system that he's trying to make. The way to do this system is everybody has to be a part of it, whether you are healthy or not, rich or poor. And when Klobuchar said that she was basically pushing for a public option, that told me, the insurance companies got to her too. She's also a public or a puppet with, you know, healthcare insurance up her butt, moving her lips. You okay? Misty's tired. More tired than me. So then, what I saw was the NBC hosts. They were like bringing up all of the worst points of each of all of the candidates. They started with at 28 minutes in Lester Holt said, "Hey Bloomberg, tell us about your stop and frisk policy when you were mayor of New York." You know, and then 32 minutes in, one of the hosts asked Amy Klobuchar about cases involving police killing black people in her state, which I didn't know there were that many in her state. But to be fair, there probably just less than the national average. But yeah, uh, it's not like she was the police person killing people, or could really effectively remove this thing that happens in every state just from her state. But yeah, she was at least able to remember the names of the black people that were killed by police, and I thought that that was pretty good because she didn't know the name of the president of Mexico, you know, which was another thing that got brought up. But 35 minutes in, one of the hosts asked Bernie Sanders about why he hadn't released all of his health care records after he had a heart attack. And he did release quite a few records, but they were saying, "Well, you said you were going to release all of them, and you didn't release all of them." And it kind of made me think that he was being kind of a hypocrite, because here we are all uh, still waiting for Trump's tax returns, and he didn't release all of his healthcare records, just a couple of them, and had some doctor follow him around the campaign trail and say that he was fit to be uh, serving as president. But then there's Donald Trump, who also has a doctor saying that he's in perfect health when obviously he is not, especially mentally. Um, So then there was a little bit of a squabble between Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg. And then at 39 minutes in, one of the hosts asked Michael Bloomberg why he hadn't put out his tax returns. So that's weird because, the rich person in the Republican Party, Donald Trump, didn't put out his tax returns. And Michael Bloomberg, who entered the race 10 weeks ago, has had plenty of time to produce his tax returns and still hasn't, um, which just makes Bloomberg look more like the Republican he used to be. you know. So I felt like, wow, these MSNBC hosts are just bringing up all the dirt about every freaking candidate on the stage. Um, at around 43 minutes in, hey, hola, nerdy. Uh, so around 43 minutes when in Warren tore into Bloomberg, and then all the other candidates jumped in. It was like there was blood in the water, and they were sharks swimming around him, and they were all taking a bite. And then one of the hosts of the debate asked Amy Klobuchar about not knowing the Mexican president's name. And then Pete Buttigieg went in after her, and Amy Klobuchar got him back. And then Elizabeth Warren defended Amy Klobuchar by saying, sometimes people just forget a name for a day. Sometimes a name slips your memory for a while, and that does not mean that she doesn't know, uh, foreign policy well enough to uh, be president. And I was like, at that point, I was like, why is she defending anyone else on the stage like that? Unless there maybe is a pact between them. Like if one of them wins, they'll bring the other one in with them, you know? Oh, Nerdy said it in the comments just as I was saying it. She was typing it. So, great minds think alike here. Um, so at about that point, my stream on the NBC app broke down on my tablet. So I had to restart my tablet because something went wrong. I get back to the app, and luckily, that one credit I got for connecting my Facebook account to the NBC app, I was able to still get in and watch the show, even though the little lock key icon was still there. I was like, oh no, you know, does it still remember that I spent my one credit on it? It did. So at least I was able to get back to the show. But when I got back to the show, there was a good block of climate change posturing where everyone was saying the the individual points that they like to make about climate change, and all of them were pretty good points, But it's just a lot of posturing of no, I'm the best on climate change. No, I'm the best on climate change. Like I get it, y'all like uh, green policies, yay, and you all have different perspectives on how to get it done. But I didn't really feel like anyone really won there. The next good point that I saw that somebody was like making for themselves was when Warren reminded everybody that she used to be a special ed teacher, and the reason why it's important that she mentioned that she used to be a teacher was previously in the show they were arguing. Sanders and Buttigieg were arguing about who had the most support from unions, right? And it's a really sly thing that Warren did there to say, well, I used to be a teacher, because guess what? Teachers have a lot of unions. And of course, formerly being a special ed teacher, she probably is going to work hard for union teachers. So I thought that was pretty slick. She never even said the word union, but she mentioned the occupation that a lot of union members have and said, I used to be one of you. That'd be like me saying, hey guys, I used to be an electrician. And then, I would get a good number of votes just by virtue of people identifying with, like, hey, I'm an electrician. He used to be one, so I'm going to vote for him. Uh, Bernie was then in this spectacle able to explain again on TV again what democratic socialism means. Uh, and I felt like it was good for him that he was getting his policy points out there yet again, coming with just policy, policy, policy. I feel like that is a really good thing to do when the others are not doing it, right? And then Bloomberg shot back at him that Bernie has three homes. How socialist can you be when you own three homes? And I thought that was a pretty good shot, you know, even though Bernie's comeback to that was like, what tax haven do you have your home in? And Bloomberg's like, New York, motherfucker. But I'm pretty sure Bloomberg probably has more homes than that and probably has some money hidden away in a different country. Probably. He's fucking rich, right? But I think what landed more there, because we all know that Bloomberg's rich, right? What landed more there is that Bernie has three homes, right? So then one of the MSNBC hosts who were just like they were bringing up the bad parts of every freaking candidate up there. They said, "Are you out of touch with millennials? Because millennials love Bernie and they don't love you." And then Bernie or Pete said that he was one of the original Bernie fans before it was cool. And he said, I still disagree with him on all that stuff, but at least he's honest about stuff. And then he and Bernie had an argument about what it means to have Medicare for all. He's like, well, it's going to raise taxes. At least he's honest about it, but it's going to raise taxes. And then Bernie's putting it out there. But yeah, there's not going to be any premiums. And so we're still going to pay less for our health care, which is it's a math problem that a lot of people don't get. Like, even though your taxes go up a bit, the amount that you pay for health care goes down a lot. And the difference is you save money. But there are people who, when they hear taxes get raised, they freak the fuck out. So I thought that was an interesting thing that only more intelligent voters are going to get that Bernie's math works out, or they're only intelligent voters are even going to look into it. You know, so I don't know. I feel like that was like a draw at best for Bernie, and maybe even something that went to Mayor Pete. I don't know that it's going to change people's minds at this point, but really, it's difficult for people to have Medicare for all's budgeting explained to them. Um, and then here's an interesting thing. Right then and there, the NBC app stops playing the debate for me, and I get an ad from Partnership for America. And the ad was an anti Medicare for all ad that was saying, oh, you're going to lose the health care plan that you love and paid for if Medicare for all goes into effect. You know, the same fucking talking points. Then it went back to the debate, and there was a moment where Elizabeth Warren attacked Joe Biden and said that he said that he hoped McConnell would keep his job so that he could continue to work for him. And then Mitch McConnell did keep his job. And then McConnell stole a Supreme Court seat from the Democrats, and then it became a Republican appointee. And so she was basically blaming Joe Biden for the fact that the last nominee to the Supreme Court was made by President Trump and not Barack Obama. Um, Popcorn Power says Warren still talks to the audience like she is a special ed teacher. And you know what? Um, if you're going to win the masses, especially the ones that voted for Trump against their own interests, sometimes I think that's a good thing. Um, at 1 minute, or sorry, at 1 hour and 38 minutes into this video, Klobuchar was saying to Mayor Pete that you have not been in this arena. I've passed over 100 bills that I've introduced, and she was just really. I felt like her crying kind of trembly voice when he tried to attack her was really working to her advantage. It like I can't wait to see the results of the Nevada caucus because I think that she's probably going to edge out Buttigieg. So then they had closing statements, right? And Amy Klobuchar went first, and at the end of it, she was like, "Oh, and you can go to amyklobuchar.com uh, and join me," right? And then Michael Bloomberg was next, and he actually got a parting shot in on her. He's like, "You can go to michaelbloomberg.com too, but I'm not going to ask you for money." I was like, "Oh, snap." And that's not even about just Amy Klobuchar, it's about all the rest of them. And me being a delegate for the Democratic Party, I know they ask me for money all the time. Like every fucking email that I get from Bernie Sanders' campaign, from Klobuchar's campaign, from Warren's campaign, it's all give me money, please. I need money between this time and this time. We're coming up against this deadline that we set for ourselves that is really meaningless, but we still want your money anyway. Please, can you just give this measly little amount? Bernie likes to make little tiny $1, $2 amounts where the number is connected to some part of a story in the email. Um, yeah, just it's asking for money, asking for money, asking for money. Um, I don't know that to the normal public, like Nerdy is saying in the comments, to the normal public, reminding people that he's not going to ask them for money is just them being reminded that he's a billionaire and that he's self funding and that he's a lot more like Trump, right? So probably didn't go off well to them. But I still felt like just for the people who have experienced going to someone's website and maybe putting in your email address and then all of the emails you get asking you for money and all the text messages you get asking you for money, to those people it was like an inside joke. um, so then at 1 minute and 46 sorry 1 hour and 46 minutes into the show, in the middle of the closing statements, it's Joe Biden's turn. And I couldn't hear what was being yelled at Joe Biden, but it was being yelled by a female young voice, right? And there were a couple of them, but I could in particular make out that it was a young female voice, right? And couldn't make out what they were yelling, but they were basically yelling him down for his closing statements. And they were probably escorted out of the building. And then Joe Biden made his statements. But yeah, I felt like that was a moment that is probably going to turn into a viral video where the words that were actually being yelled by those girls are going to be like captioned in so that we're all going to be able to read along. And it's probably going to be either um, they were black girls who were not happy with Biden on some issue that affects black people, or it's going to be that they were just women in general and that Joe Biden is touchy feely, you know, with women. It's one of the two, I feel. And when the captioning actually comes out, I will be watching that video just to see, what was it that they were yelling. I don't know, but it can have been good for him. And just the fact that it was a female voice that was like really like shouting down over all of the audience, just like really like projecting. Um, Nerdy says she's just looked it up. Oh, it's about the immigration record. Okay. So in Biden's final message, he actually was saying that Bernie Sanders has a bad record on immigration. And then Bernie Sanders responded that some people saw the bill as having provisions in it that looked like slavery. This bill that Bernie Sanders wouldn't sign, that was about the DACA dreamers and stuff like that. And so when Bernie said that that bill had provisions that looked like slavery to some people, I felt like it looked bad more on Biden than it did Bernie for not signing it, even though it was a bill about the dreamers. So I don't know. I felt like Sanders also getting like the last word in for the whole night. He was able to get some good policy points in at the end, you know. And for somebody who, like me, has watched him speak many times, they're the same points he always makes. But yeah, it's just good for him to get out policy issues and where he stands on things. That's where he wins. All right. Um, Nerdy says the captioning should read, "You deported 3 million people," um, and it was Ricey's Action, an immigrant rights group, uh, said on Twitter that it was responsible for the protest. Okay, and that makes sense because 29% of Nevada is Hispanic, and the largest portion of that is Mexican. Okay, I got you. There were a lot of different ways it could have gone as far as what women would be yelling at him from the crowd. You know, um, when you watch SNL and you see all the jokes that they put on Joe Biden, they're usually jokes about him being a little bit too touchy feely or being creepy. You know, and I will not discount the power of comedy, be it stand-up comedy or SNL, in helping to craft the narrative of who we should elect. Because there are a lot of people, especially millennials, who get most of their news through comedy sources these days. Anyways, that's all I got for today. Expect me to be controlling spiders with my mind in a future video. Um, After I construct all that stuff and set it all together and actually charge it with the actual charging cable that I got. Fucking, this thing is gold to me right now. Talk to you guys later.